So you've made a list of your characters. Now let's look at symbols, motifs, and themes. Some of my more concrete students struggle with finding abstract concepts in a text, things like symbolism, motif, and theme. So the first thing to do is to understand what they are. Symbols are anything that represents another concept or could symbolize another concept. Sometimes we want to say, did the author really mean to say that? At the point where the author hands the text off to us, it doesn't matter what he or she intended. It's now our interpretation, and we need to be able to justify our arguments through the text. So for symbolism, I challenge you to look for patterns in the text. Think about your own school. Within your school, you have many different symbols. You have your school colors. You have your school song. You have your school mascot. Think about the United States. There's the Stars and Stripes. There is the Star-Spangled Banner, the Liberty Bell, the Statue of Liberty, the bald eagle. All of those are symbolic elements that represent our country. So within the text, you want to be looking for those images again and begin to make a list of symbols that you see reappearing, ideas and concepts you see reappearing. What's the difference between a symbol and a motif? Well, motifs are almost always symbols, but they point to the thematic elements, and they are a recurring element throughout the book as a whole. So a symbol might appear once or twice in a text, and it has significance in that moment, but a motif will appear throughout the entire text, and oftentimes it will morph and change a little bit, and we want to pay attention to those changes because that gives us an indication of how the theme is developing. So let's look at Lord of the Flies, a famous book by William Golding. In the beginning of the story, Golding spends a lot of time talking about the physical descriptions of the boys. They are a group of young boys who are shipwrecked on an island, and they maintain a connection for a short while to their British schoolboy history. But as they adapt and change throughout the text, they tend to shed that schoolboy image, and their physical appearance changes, the way they dress changes, the way they paint their face changes, and they move from being this civilized boy to this more barbaric element of their natural self. So you want to pay attention to how he describes the boys and how they change. And he spends a lot of time talking about their clothing and the way they paint their faces and the way their hair is described. And so as you start to see that adapt and change, it's probably moved from being a symbolic element to being a motif. Is there a right or wrong answer? No, you just need to defend your argument. And sometimes you'll see something in a text that somebody does not. That's the cool thing about analyzing literature. That leads us to theme. Theme is a central, underlying, and controlling idea of a text. Now this summer I read several books by Fredrik Backman. He's a wonderful Swedish author, and he writes with these wonderful quirky characters. I highly recommend the book. So I want to use a few of his ideas to talk about how to write a theme statement. A theme statement is an abstract concept that may be represented by character, by action, or images. And by the way, we need to have a comma right here. That's called an Oxford comma, and you need to have it after the last word before the conjunction in a list. All right. A theme statement should never be written as a single word, but an argument with a claim and a warrant. So here's an incorrect way to phrase a theme statement. With a cliche, actions speak louder than words, or a single word, friendship, love, loss. Those are symbols, those may be motifs, but we don't express a theme statement in a single word. One of the books that I read this summer was A Man Called Uva, and I love this book. It centers around this crotchety old man who seems to be angry with the world and every single thing in it, from the neighbors next door to the cat that lives outside the house to the car in the garage. Everything makes him angry, but there's a lot more to the story than that. And so I created this theme statement, and I would work with it. It's just a rough draft. It's something that I put together for the purpose of this assignment, and I play with it a little bit more. But theme statements always have two parts. They have a claim, and then they have a warrant. So let's talk about the claim. The claim has to be an argument. It should not be a statement of fact. It needs to be something that we can debate and discuss and that you will defend within your paper. So my claim is one's character is not reflected in a single action, and then the warrant is preceded by a conjunction typically. In this case I use the word but reveals itself over time and when it is tested. So that's the warrant. That's the justification for the first statement. Oftentimes students will write the claim, but they won't give the warrant. So we don't know how we're going to defend this. So how might this be argued? Well, other people may not agree with me. They may say that a single moment in someone's life is so defining that it also defines one's character. That if someone commits a horrific crime, for instance, that's really a defining piece of their character, the most defining piece. Whereas I disagree. I think that one's character is developed over time, and I think that that is defended in the text, and then I would find my evidence to support that. So remember, claim and warrant. And again, this is a working document. This isn't something that has to be perfect when you come into class. Make a good stab at it, and we'll talk about our theme statements with other people who've read the same book. You might also use other kinds of conjunctions. I use but you can use however, although, therefore, because, otherwise, and there are tons of different conjunctions that you can use to join your claim and your warrant. Okay, bottom line, your responsibility is to read the book, annotate the book, and take your notes. And the Major Works data sheet gives you a good guide as to how many notes to take. You know, a few more, a few less is not going to significantly impact your grade, but you want to think about what the Major Works data sheet is asking you. Make sure it's clear so that I can read it. Sometimes people's penmanship is not something that I can read. If that's you, you probably need to type it. If you want to write on your own paper and simply label those headings, that's fine too. Just have fun with it. It's kind of a thought process. It's your thinking on the page so that we can begin a discussion and begin work with it. We will add to this when you get to class. So if somebody has a really good idea, you'll borrow from them and you'll share some of yours. It's not meant to be a full-on essay. It's meant to be notes that indicate your interaction with the text, and then we build on that when you come. So don't worry about it. Just do the best you can, and if you have a question, you can always ask. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.